Welcome to the Scriptcase webinar. My name is Jamie Oates and I will be your host during this video. So today we will be looking at how we can use images within Scriptcase. Now recently Carlos Guzman from Scriptcase had also created a Spanish version of this training. He had showcased various applications, added images to them in various ways. Now during that training he had used various resources, and we will also go ahead and use the same resources but create something maybe slightly different. So for the resources, let's go over this. First of all, we will be using pixabay.com, pixabay.com. We have here the name Pixabay. Now here we can actually download images for free and use them within our projects for background images, for example, which is exactly what we will be using them for. The next resource will be Icon Finder. Now here we can download icons for free. For instance, we can just search here for an icon and select here the free icons, and then we can actually use some of these also within our applications or projects within Scriptcase. The next resource we will be using will be FontAwesome. So in many cases today, instead of using images for icons and such, many people use FontAwesome instead, being that everything is generated with CSS, meaning it loads much faster and it isn't so heavy on your project. Now FontAwesome is actually already included within Scriptcase, so there is no need to be adding any external libraries or internal libraries or adding the CSS lines to your project. They are already available for you to use. The next resource we will be using is Bootstrap. So we will go ahead either in this video or the second part and add various Bootstrap elements into our project so that we can create a slider as well as some cards and so forth. So let's get started, shall we? So within Scriptcase, I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. And I will select a blank project. Now here I will give the project name, the webinar, and image. Now the first place we can actually use or add images within Scriptcase is here when we create our project. So within the project details we have here the option to add an icon. So if I go ahead and click that, we will be presented with the Scriptcase image management interface. So from here we have various images available, and if I open the left-hand menu here, we can see that we have 4 tabs available: Scriptcase, Public, Project, and User. Within each tab, we then also have multiple folders, which allow us for easy organization of our images within Scriptcase. So here the first tab being the Scriptcase folder, or Scriptcase tab, is where all images are available here from Scriptcase, and there are quite a few of them that we can also use within our project. Opening the menu again, we then also have button images, general images, icons, as well as menu images. So we can really organize our images accordingly. The next tab is the Public tab. So the Public tab is available to all users within Scriptcase. So for instance, if you have multiple users that use your platform, then you will be able to use public images between all users that use the same interface. The Project tab is dedicated towards the project that you are currently working on. So for instance, if you would open or create a second or third project, the images that you have assigned or uploaded to that specific project will not be available within other projects. The User tab is only for specific users. So if you have Scriptcase where you can actually log in with multiple user accounts, say 2 or 3 users, then each user will be able to upload their own images within Scriptcase and then use them within their projects. Okay, so I will go ahead and select here the project, and here I will indicate general images, and what I will do now is I could upload an image here. So if I go upload, I can select my file and then upload it into my project here. So I've already added one image here, which is here the webinar.png. So if I go ahead and select that and then click add selected, it will now be added for the project. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go next. English, I will change the character set to Unicode UTF-8 and click Next again. Now here I will select the SC9 Midnight as my default theme and go Next. Now for the database, I will be using a local WAMP installation with MySQL, and here I will select MySQL, list my databases, and for the database I will use the samples database, which is available within Scriptcase, test my connection, and go ahead and click Create. Okay, so now that we're ready to start creating our first application, let's go ahead and do that and start with a control application. So I will select Control. I will change the name to Control Login and select Create. So within the control application, I can then select the fields, and we will go ahead and add some new fields to this control application. So if I run this now, there will be no fields, nothing available for this form. In fact, it will just be a blank application with nothing available really. We really need to add some fields. So as it says here, form fields undefined. Okay, so let's go ahead and add those. Let's add four fields. Click Next. And the first field I will call image, the second field I will call username, then password, and the final one we will call image2. Now as you can guess, we will be creating a login form just like Carlos did. We will be trying to follow most of the applications that he created so that you can pretty much copy either the Spanish version or this version depending on your own needs. So from now, we can go ahead and click Create. So now we have our four fields available here. They're all indicated with a T, which indicates text. So if I select first of all the image, I can then change the data type. Now typically you may want to select the image file name, which is actually for files. So if we wanted to create an upload form to upload images, then we would select this. In this case, we could also select HTML image. So if I go ahead and select that, we can add images from the image manager in here. So I could say, select one of these, add that, and let's go ahead and run that, and we'll see what that looks like. So there we already have one image in here. Now there's one method of doing that. Now I don't really like this image, and we want to add some custom images in here. So let's go ahead, go back, and instead of using the HTML image, what we will do is select the label. Okay, so now that the data type label is selected, we can actually add images or text or links into this text field here. So before I do that, let's go ahead and change the image to, and this one we will also change to label. And then I will go ahead to the username. We will use this leave this as text. I will increase my character count. And then also for the password, we'll do the same thing. Increase the character count and indicate that it is a password field. Okay, so returning back to the images. So as we've seen, we already have the image manager where we could essentially add images within our project. Another method would be to use the FontAwesome icons, which we will do shortly. But before that, we want to create an external library. So let's go ahead to Tools, select External Libraries, and scroll all the way down and select Create a New Library. Now here I will select Project, so that is only available for this project, and the library name, we can call it Images. Select Create. Now scroll down again, I need to find that now, and we have that here under Project, Images. So let's go ahead and edit that one. Now within here, I will also upload the images which I've already prepared. So here what I'll do is I'll drag and drop them straight away into the drag and drop space here. That's 3 images, BG1, BG2 and BG3. Select OK. And now the 3 images will be available within an external library. And then we can go ahead and close that. Now we have to remember to also select to use the library, scroll down again and save the project files. Okay, so now this library will be available within our project. So I can go ahead and close that now. And then here within our control application, we can go ahead and use this application or use the images which I just uploaded. So first of all, we want to add a div in here, and I will indicate a div align, and here we will say center, and we will close that, and then we will close the div statement. And then we can actually add the path of the image that we want to include. So now when adding images here, we could, as previously mentioned, use the image manager. Now in most cases it is actually best to upload your images to the image manager, and then we can actually use them here. So before we go ahead and do that, let's check out the Scriptcase help. And here we can see the image manager help information which we have available within the Scriptcase manual. So what's important to note here is when we upload images into the relevant tabs or folders which we have shown previously, we have here the indication of where they would be. So for instance, we want to use a project image, and we can use, say for instance, the general images. So what we want then is the group underscore underscore nm underscore underscore. Remember, this is 2 underscores, not just 1. That's quite important to note. And then depending on the location or image type, essentially, as we have them organized within Scriptcase, we then also need to adjust the information here as well. So let's go back into Scriptcase, and what we will do now is we will open up our layout, and here we then have the images manager, which we can then access separately. So within the image manager, I will again go project and general images. So at the moment I have no images here, so I will go ahead and upload them. And here again, I will select files, and I had previously downloaded some. So here I will again go ahead and select all of these, which I had downloaded, open them. They will then be uploaded to my project as we have here. We have here the bell notice, delete, edit 1, edit 2, and users image. So we will be using each of these as we continue within our project within various applications. So now within our control application, we can come here and now we can specify the path of the image. So if I come and copy a slight piece of code, save me typing it all out, and then here we can then paste that in here. So let me expand that. So we have here the image center, align at center, and then we have here the source. So I'm saying group, and then image, and then user 2. So let me confirm that image name, and we have that as users PNG. So let me change that here, users. And then we can go ahead and run our application again. Okay, we can see now that our image has now been placed within our form. Now it is important most of the time to also generate all your files, so don't forget that one as well. So if you don't have the images there already, or they haven't previously been added or saved within your image manager, then you will need to generate all of your source code and then possibly even add it separately within the image field. So just for troubleshooting purposes, that sometimes if you add your image here, then make sure they are in the correct location, generate your application, and if the image in this case does not display, then if you've only just added the image, as I just did for instance, but I had them there previously, then it would be good to actually maybe change the field to the HTML image, add the image here for instance, and then you can run the application and then revert back to your label or so forth. And then all of the images that you have here saved within the image manager will then be available for the application. So that's really just for troubleshooting purposes, because sometimes there may be some issues with adding images once you've just initially added them in the first case. So coming back to our form here, we have our image here. Now something we may want to do is actually adjust the width and height of this. So if I say width 80 and height 80 also, let's go ahead and run that again, and we should then have the image a little smaller and more suitable for our application. So something we want to do here is then remove these side labels as well as remove the header. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we want to do is first of all come into our layout. We then have the blocks option. Now within the blocks we can hide here the label, so I will go ahead and do that. And I will also change the position to above. It's just something I like to do because then it also makes some slight adjustments within the application. Okay, so now the labels are gone, they're no longer there, but now we have no labels for the username and password. And of course we actually do want to have something there. So what we can do is we can create a separate block. And then within that block, again here, I'll select above. We will leave the display and I will create a second block. Click create. And in this one, again, I will change to above and remove the display of the labels. And then access the edit fields. And then within edit fields, we can just align or adjust the fields how we want them. So again, in the first block where we have the labels hidden, we have the image, as well as the final block, we have also the image where we will also hide the label. So if I will go ahead and run that again, we now have our application with the username and password here. Now, the next thing we can actually do is add some images or icons here within the username and password. So if I come back here to the field, select username for instance, and here we have the label. So what I'll do is I'll come back here to image and I will copy this path that I have here, come back into the username field, and then I can specify that here. And what we can actually do is make the image smaller. So for some reason I actually have the wrong, so let's go back to image, copy that, come back to username, and here we can place in our image also. And of course in this case we would want to have the image much smaller, so let's go 2020, we can go run again, and now we will have the little user icon also displayed next to the username. Now we can then also do the same with password, so I'll use the same image again. Again, change to 2020 for the height. Of course, we can use any image here we like. Press, click run. And now I also have an image next to the password field. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove the exit button that we have here. So if I go ahead and remove this one, and let's go ahead and, well, we can leave the OK in the center, but we want to change the label of this. So let's say login. And then we also want to change the header. So accessing the header and footer, let's just remove that entirely and click run. And then we have already a username, password, login form that we could use within our project. So then, now one further thing that we would want to do in this case is actually add a background image to this. Okay, so let's access here the events, and in events we can go to onload, and then in onload we can add some styling here. So I already have something prepared, and so I'll paste that in here. And now here what we're doing is we're applying some CSS to this application. And we first of all want to make sure we open and close our PHP statement, which is very important, otherwise we will be having an error with the CSS. So now we have our typical style type, CSS, we have indicating HTML, form, and background tags. So now to find out the body tag, for instance, which is something sometimes we need to access to modify the various CSS elements within the Scriptcase application. Ideally, we just access the application or load the application or run it that we want to use. We can then right click on it and we can select within most browsers the option to inspect the code. Then when we inspect the code, we have here the ID which we can use. So here, for instance, for the entire form, if we go up, we have here SC form border, main table, and we can see then also where this CSS is being applied within this application. So here we can say SC form border, and then we can target one of those specifically. So here we have SE form page. Now for the HTML, we're applying the CSS to the entire HTML. And you can see here I already have a background image statement, background position, and repeat. So here what we're going to do is we are taking an image from our library, which we have here within the image manager. Sorry, not the image manager, within our external library. So let's see those again. Scroll all the way down. Let's view that. And here we have the BG1 JPEG. So now within the control application, I'm also targeting that. Here I am saying the project folder, which this is located for project only. And then we have the name of this application, well, the name of this external library, which is images. Okay. So back into control panel, we can then run the application and we will now have a background applied to our login form. Okay, so now for the login form, of course, we may want to make some adjustments to the position. For instance, we can place it over to the left, to the right, further down, however we like. And we can do all of that within the form settings. So within the form settings, I can apply various margins here, and I can just indicate, say, I want this 250 pixels from the left, 50 from the top, and we can also apply widths and so on. So let's go ahead and apply a width of, say, 250 as well. Indicate the pixel width, and then we can go ahead and run that, and let's check out the difference. So we can see that we've made a slight difference here. The form has slightly nudged over, it's come down a little bit, as well as the application itself. We're having a slight background issue here on the back here where the image is not entirely covered. So let's return back into Scriptcase, come here back to the CSS, and instead of saying center, well, we want center, we don't want repeat, and we could actually use a cover statement. Okay, so it's the background position, we change that from center, we can change that to cover, and then run the application again. Ouch. Okay, so we see now within our application, we have our form all laid out. We have the background here. Of course, we can make further adjustments. We can capitalize the username, password, and so forth. But we still have our image field here, which we want to apply an image to. So let's return back into Scriptcase. And here within the onload, what we want to do is use this image field here. So if I say image to, and then what we're going to say is, so right here, I am actually targeting this field, image to, and there we will basically apply the same sort of thing as we've just done above and indicate where this is going to be. So here we've said align center, image source, and now here we have the Scriptcase PNG, which is also available within the project. And we have here width and height. So if I go ahead and run that again, we're now within our application. And then within our application, we are then also displaying the Scriptcase image. Now I should indicate that I did cheat there slightly and had in between uploaded the image into the image manager as it was not there. So I'll show you that there quickly, images manager, and here we can see I added the Scriptcase image. So now within the control application, we have everything added with images. So now let's go ahead and change that up. And this time we will go ahead and let's go to our home. And what we will do is we will replicate this. So if I go copy over to the right, and this time we're going to call it control login, and let's call it FA. And this time we will use some FontAwesome icons within the application instead of images. So now within the control application, we can access the fields that we had previously, and if I go ahead and run this, you'll see that it is identical to the application we have just created. Okay, so now here, instead of using images or links here within the images, we can apply some FontAwesome icons instead. So let's go ahead and add one. So we're seeing here div align center, and then we're using a span style, color tomato, and then the iClass FA users, or FAS, FA users, FA10. Now FAS is the change for Scriptcase. So now if I go ahead and run that, and now within our application, we already see that we have the FontAwesome icon at the top here, using the tomato color. So checking out FontAwesome again, here we have the icons available. Now anytime if you want to use any of these icons, we can just access the icons that we have here, select one of them. Say if I select here the address book, for instance, and then we have up here the code here to use. Again, fast FA address book. So we can just click that and it will be copied, and then we can apply that straight away within our application. Now the extra that we've added here is the FA-10 times, which will increase the size of the FontAwesome icon. So again, all information for that you will find here within FontAwesome, as well as help files on how to use that. So the next thing we want to do is within our form application, so let's have a look at it again. We want to change the username and password here. So if I search here within FontAwesome, let's look here for users. And then we have here various user options. So I'll select here just the user. And then what I will do is I will just copy the code here, come into our field, and this time what we'll do is remove the image that we have here and replace that with the FontAwesome icon. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do the same with password. So if I come back to FontAwesome again, I'll search for a key this time. And then here we have the key icon. And again, I can just copy the code that we have here and again paste that or replace the image that we have here from previous and add that into the field. So now if I run that again, we'll now see within our form application that we are now using FontAwesome icons within our application as well as images both at the same time. Okay, so next up we're going to go ahead and create a new application. So let's access Scriptcase again. We can close our application here. And what we're going to do this time is create a new application. And this time we will create a form application. So here I will be selecting a table that I have added myself into the samples, and it's called clients. So here I will select create. Now within this table I have some very simple fields. So we see here with the client ID, first name, last name, date of birth, address, photo, telephone, and Skype. And of course the idea is that we see the photo, and we have here the image which is taken from the database. So if I go ahead and run this now, we can see what it looks like. So this is then our form, and we can see here that we have some basic details of the user as well as the photo. So within the form application, we can make various adjustments to the image that we have here displayed, and that would be, for instance, change the image height and width. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say 80 height and width, and I will also apply a 2 pixel border. And the other alternatives are to maintain the aspect ratio, open the photo in another window, as well as provide the upload area for the files. Now below that, it's important that we can also adjust the extensions that are allowed for the various files. So for instance, being images, we may only want to allow JPEGs or GIFs, for instance, instead of PNGs, considering that sometimes they are quite heavy. So if I go ahead and run the application again, we'll now see that the image size has adjusted. Of course, then we can come in here and make further adjustments to the various fields, move the photo to the top. Let's get rid of the Skype, telephone number and address and date of birth. And we can run it again. And there we have just the 2 fields as well as the photo. So one option here would be for sure to adjust the size of our application. Now also note that if we add multiple records, the editable grid or editable grid view, the layout will change and the image will also be displayed. So if we select here multiple records, for instance, instantly we can see that we have then the multiple users there and the images available. Now in this case, removing the upload field may be a good idea. So if we remove that one, we leave the maintain the aspect ratio, and of course when we click the image, it displays in another window as so, which is also nice to have. So if we run that again, we will see then here, for instance, within our list, we now no longer have the upload field, and we can just select the file or have the option to delete it if need be. Okay, so now within this form, it would also be, of course, good to adjust the header template that we have here. So we have here update clients, the date and so forth. So what we can actually do here is make some further adjustments and change, for instance, the header and footer that we have here. So if I remove the date, we can leave the titles that we have here, but here we can also add images within this. So again, what we will do is we will access FontAwesome again, and this time let's search for users, or let's actually see if there's something for client. And if there is, we'll be lucky. Yeah, there we go. A hot cup of coffee is a good one. So let's select that, and we can copy this code, and that we can then place within our header here. So come here to the beginning, just paste that in there also, and also on the update mode, considering the type of form that we're using here, we will always have an update mode available. And now we can see that we have here a little coffee cup indicating the clients within our grid application. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and return back into Scriptcase. Now we've seen how we can basically add images and make adjustments to our images within the form application. Let's this time create a blank application. So new application, and here we will select the blank, and let's say blank, say image, and then select create. Okay, so within the blank application, the first thing we want to do is close and open our PHP tags again. And then within the top here, or within the content area that we are now going to add, we can add a doc type. Really just press tab here, so that's then actually added automatically for me. And we want doc type HTML. And this one here should also then be HTML. Okay, so the next up we can add then our HTML statement. So remove the tag, that's wrong. And we now need to add our HTML, and we want a language. Lang equals English. Don't forget our tags here. English. And so that we open and close our HTML statement here. Okay, so after that, we will of course want to include a head, for instance. And for that, I've already prepared some script here. So should note also pressing F11, if you're actually adding a lot of code within the blank application, pressing F11 is also quite nice, so it will increase the entire size of the code window as we see here. So that way we have a better overview. So as I was saying, we need to add our head statement here. So let's add our head. And again, I should press tab to actually automatically create these, but for some reason I sometimes like to type. Okay, so now we have our character set that we want to include in here, and of course a title. So to speed it up a little bit, we change our title to images, we have our head statement, and now within the blank application, what we want to do is basically add some bootstrap, for instance. We can add our bootstrap code in here. So here we can have our examples, but first, before we do that, we want to copy here the CSS code that we have here. So if I copy this, and we can place that within our page here, because we will be using this then within the next applications also. And let's not forget to copy the JavaScript also. So both are needed, and we'll paste that in here also then. Okay, so we have here then the Bootstrap min CSS and the Popper min JS, as well as the jQuery JS and the Bootstrap JS included within our blank application. Now, we have multiple options again to use images within the blank application. One of them would be as so, for instance, if I copy the correct line. which is an example we've already used previously. So in this case, again, we are fetching an image from our, close that again, and we can see here within the image manager, and then within the project and general images, we have these images available here. Now, I don't have any of these added, any backgrounds added in here. So what we can then do is upload the background image into here. So I go ahead and do that. So I don't have any images in here, and this time for organization's sake, we actually want to use the background images. So if I go ahead and upload an image in, so then now I've uploaded an image, and this is one of those that we are also using within the external library. So you have bg3, and now if I then close the image manager, and then within our blank image application, we can then come back in here, we can then change this path. Remember group NM, and just to confirm that for the image manager here, for background images, we need BG underscore NM underscore underscore. So here within our blank application, that's what we have here, BG underscore NM, and now I need to change this here to BG to match my image. And then I should be able to view the background image, but this won't actually be available yet, so we do need to generate all of our applications. So we see here the image is missing. So if I come here and then generate the source code and generate all applications, and then close, and then we can run it again. Okay, so when I go ahead and run this blank application now, we'll see that we now have the background image displayed within the blank application. Now there is an alternative here that we could use, and that would be to use the external libraries that we added the images to earlier. So I'll go ahead and let's copy this piece here. And what we will need to do also is comment out this image here. So if I comment this out, and then we can paste in the new line. Now again here, all we're doing is changing the path for the image to that of our external library. So remember the external library, so let's have a look there again, external libraries. And here within the project external library, we have the bg3 image also, and then within the blank application, we can reference that using PHP. So here we're echoing the URL library, project, images, bg3. We're then also applying the class image fluid, which is why we also have bootstrap applied here, and ensuring that it is a responsive image. So we'll go ahead and run the application again. Again, we have the background image displayed. Okay, thank you very much for watching part 1 of this training. I hope to see you again soon in part 2, where we will continue with some grid application as well as the menu application, and apply images and see how we can work within these specific applications within the Scriptcase platform. Thank you very much.